And I'm, first of all, good evening, everyone who joined. I'm Caroline Taylor, Executive Director for Montgomery Countryside Alliance. My coworker, Christina Bostic, and our board welcome you this evening. We're very pleased to have with us Tom Deo, Cindy McCabe from the Montgomery County Green Bank, and Larissa Johnson, who is manager of Montgomery County's Residential Energy Program. We are absolutely thrilled to be able to have the three of them here to let you know about opportunities, process, funding, all good information for us to have as we explore our options for renewable energy for our businesses and our homes. And you'll have the opportunity to not comment or ask questions in the chat. We appreciate the preliminary questions folks have asked. And I will tell you that if we're not hitting your subject this evening, for example, specific zoning questions, process questions that are still being established with regard to the elements of the recently passed zoning text amendment, fear not. There will be a part 2 coming up, but tonight there'll be quite a bit of information, and I'm very eager to let our friends get started. So thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Christina, for having us on and being able to talk to your audience out here. We had this conversation just like 45 days ago. We finally connected and were able to pull this together to sort of help share with the residents and businesses in the Countryside Alliance arena around how to undertake solar renewable energy. And we're going to cover a couple bases here, both rooftop solar and community solar from what you can do as a resident or a business in this space. So we're grateful for this chance to talk to you, and we'll get started here. So I'm Tom Deo. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for the Montgomery County Green Bank. Cindy McCabe is our residential program manager and has a deep expertise in solar. And we're pleased to have our partner, Larissa Johnson, joining from DEP, who we work very closely with throughout our work at the Green Bank. So we've got the agenda here. We'll start out I'll do a brief introduction to the Green Bank so you all know and aware of who we are. Back up, Cindy. Walk through the agenda for a moment there. But then we'll quickly walk just a high level. What are it's okay. What are some of the solar options that residents and businesses might look at? So we'll put an overview out there, and then we'll drive in specifically what's rooftop solar about, what's community solar about, and then Larissa Johnson's going to come on and talk about other county resources available in this space for you as well. So if you go on to the next slide. So we'll start out here just with a quick summary. What is the Montgomery County Green Bank? So we're a nonprofit organization. We were created by the county. They created us by charter and resolution, establishing us as an entity that would support the acceleration of clean energy finance across the county, supporting residents and businesses to undertake energy efficiency, renewable energy activities in their homes or businesses. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. And even though we were chartered by the company, we're actually an independent organization that is not underneath the county, so we can operate and work in the marketplace without having to sort of work through the county's policies and so forth. So, but we do have our charter from the county, and so it lays out what our areas of work should be. So our approach is we were provided resources by the county from the Pepco Exelon settlement. That was how we were capitalized. And the county felt that rather than spending that dollar in grants, that it would rather put that into an entity that could leverage that money by working with other financial partners and bringing more affordable, flexible financing tools to residents and home and businesses in the county to do that work of energy efficiency, renewable energy. So we use our resource to connect with other private financial institutions. You won't see us on the originations of anything. We stand behind a lot of the product. We de-risk the transactions for the lenders so that they can make more of their private capital available to the marketplace. We only work in Montgomery County, and our work is only dedicated to working with residents and commercial businesses throughout the county. For the next slide. So what areas of focus do we have? So we've got the two areas. We work in energy efficiency, which means we support activities that are the improvements to the building to reduce energy consumption. The cheapest kilowatt hour is the one you don't use. And so the way we can do best is to save those kilowatt hours from being used. You do that through a high energy efficiency by improving the building envelope of the house, through higher insulation, through better, higher efficiency systems and building controls. And so your first order of business should always be to sort of reduce the consumption that your home or your business has, and energy efficiency is the first route to that. So we work to support that first. We do that through various loan products that for the commercial businesses and for the residents in order to sort of undertake that and begin to gain that energy savings through energy efficiency. The other area we work in is in renewable energy. And that's the area of sort of supporting those things that provide energy from renewable sources. It could be the solar PV, it could be geothermal, and energy storage is another way to sort of capture renewable energy and use it at a later time than when the sun is out. So our efforts there are, once you've sort of gotten the home to the place that's most efficient, then to bring in renewable energy and begin to reduce your draw from the grid through using those renewable energy sources. So those are the two areas we really focus our attention on. Next slide. All right. So, what are the solar options that residents and businesses have? And we're going to cover both of these here. And the options we talk about play both. You can, if you're a homeowner, they work for you. If they're a business, they also work for you. So the first opportunity is the rooftop solar. This is the kind of product that's installed directly on your home. And by virtue of being on your home, it generates power from the sun. And that power goes straight to the home and gets used by the home. It offsets your demand on the grid. So every kilowatt hour that you're using from solar energy, you're not drawing from the grid. So reduces your demand from the grid and saves the planet from that perspective. It also saves on your energy bill from not having to pay the PEPCO or the Potomac Edison power charge. You can do it through two methods, and we'll walk through this. You can either own it, in which case you're paying, you own it, you're getting all the benefits from that, or you can do it through what we might term a rented model, which is you go through a lease or a power purchase agreement. We'll walk through both of those options so you can understand how if you have a home or a business, you want to put rooftop solar on, how much you do it. The other option is community solar. This is an avenue really dedicated to the residents of a community. They could be homeowners, they could be renters. Both can take the opportunity of community solar. But in general, and we'll go through this in more detail later, some solar developer builds a solar array somewhere in the utility territory that you're participating in, PEPCO, Potomac Edison, BGE. So they build a solar array, they put it up, they finance it, they own it. And they basically go out and market subscriptions for the power generated from that solar array. So if you're a homeowner or a resident, you basically sign up to get power from the solar array. And you buy it at a set price per kilowatt hour. It's usually going to be less than the price that you pay PEPCO or Potomac Edison. And so you pay a subscription, say it's $45 for that monthly subscription. And then what you get is you get a credit on your utility bill for the amount of solar generated for that portion of the array that you subscribe to. So that might be $50 of credit that you get. You paid $45 in a subscription. But it's a way to participate in solar when your rooftop isn't available to do it. Maybe it's too shaded. It's not of the kind that can handle solar. It's a slate roof or whatever. Or you're a renter and you can't participate because you can't put it on your rental property. So you can participate through community solar. Cindy's going to go through a lot more of that later. So those are the key options that we're going to walk through today. So Cindy, next. So now I'm going to hand it over to Cindy, and she's going to walk through and give you a sense of what's rooftop on the solar installation all about. Cindy?
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, everybody. Thanks so much for having us here tonight. Appreciate it. So I've worked in the solar industry for about 6 years in some couple different positions. So do my best at going over sizing a solar system and start a sort of where you get started and what the process looks like. Usually when you start your solar project, you contact a few installers. And one thing that they will ask you for is the current bill. Every bill has a chart on it, like the one here on the right, that just happens to be from one of my recent Pepco bills. And that chart right there on the left side has the number of kilowatt hours, and on the bottom has the years and the months of usage. So you can see here that I have just about 2 years, about a year and a half of usage. The blue is when I first moved into my house, and green is the past 12 months. And so I can basically see how many kilowatt hours I've used over the past year. And the installers will use the last 12 months as a regular year for you. Now, if you wanted to tell them that, well, last year was a little bit different, you know, we were in the house more or less, just let the installers know as they go about sizing your system. So they will use your historic data as much as you have of it to size your system. So they want to take a look at not only what you use in a month, but what you use in the whole year. As you can see, your usage changes throughout the year. So we don't just look at how much you paid on a spring month, because I'm sure your bills might be a little bit lower than like mine were this month, because you're not using as much air conditioning just yet, and you're not using as much heat. So they really want to check this bill to see what you use throughout the year. Now the picture here on the bottom left, you can see that there are solar panels, but they're not covering the whole rooftop. And that may be because the place that doesn't need to cover the whole rooftop with solar panels. And your solar installer will figure that out for you. That's not something that you need to calculate on your own. So when they're going ahead and sizing your system, they're going to look at how much of your rooftop they would need, also the orientation of your roof. So south facing is always gets the strongest amount of sun because we're in the northern hemisphere, so the sun is shining from the south. East and west also get a lot of sun. North, depending if it's northwest or northeast, can still get some sun, but if it's what we call due north, so directly north, usually they would not use a mounting plane that's in that direction. Again, you don't need to figure any of this out. This is just kind of a sneak peek into what the installers do, so that they'll go ahead and take care of all that for you. They'll come out and measure your roof and the direction, and also any tree shading you may have. We do love our trees in the solar industry. So don't think that people are gonna come out and cut down all your trees. That's not the mission. So we will measure them and maybe trim them a bit if it will not hurt the tree and if it will increase the amount of sun hitting the roof. There also are code requirements to allow for a certain amount of space around the solar panels. A lot of times people call them setbacks. And again, your installer knows all of the setbacks for the county and they will take care of that. The permitting department will check and make sure that they're following all the rules so you don't have to worry about it. So let's talk a little bit about how installation works and how your roof condition can impact your eligibility. So another thing that the installer will do is take a look at the condition of your roof. They'll also talk to you about it. So they'll ask you how long your roof has been up there, what is the expected lifespan of your roof. They'll look at the space and the setbacks, and they'll also take a look at where to put equipment. So if you can take a look at this picture of this townhouse, and I know not everybody has a townhouse, of course, but where would we put equipment that has to go outside the house, usually near ground level? Well, the only place would probably be in front of the house or in back of the house, right? So just some things to think about, and the installer will walk you through this. Where will you put your equipment? If you've got lots of space on the side of your house or the back of your house, wonderful. You can take your pick. Some equipment can go inside. It depends upon the way that it's facing. There's some equipment that can't be on a south facing plane. The installers will walk you through it again. Let me just touch real quick on how the installation is attached to your roof. So if you have asphalt shingles, which is usually the most common roof type in this area, the installers will find where your rafters are. They'll actually draw on the roof in a type of chalk when they first start the installation, and they'll put long lags through the roof into the rafters. And that's for a pitched roof with asphalt shingles. So there's lots of different types of roofs. If you are on a farm that happens to have a lovely aluminum roof and it's standing seam metal, then they won't perforate that. They will clamp onto it. So there's lots of different roof types and installation methods that the installers can talk you through based on what you have. So don't try to talk yourself out of solar. If you just have a different type of roof type, just always talk through an installer about it. That's what I usually tell everyone. It usually doesn't cost anything just to talk to the installer about it. So we were talking a little bit about equipment. So there's different equipment depending upon whether your installation is residential or commercial. And usually you would know that from your property map, from your plot, and from your county title. So on the left here, we have, I would say, a medium-sized solar system and the equipment that goes with it. So the boxes that say Solar City on them, those are gray. Those are the inverters, and they change the electricity from DC current to AC current that you use in your home. And there are two of them, as you can see. So if you have a larger system, you might need more. Or you might need less. You don't have to worry about this. The installer will size it for you. But if you can see the silver piping, that's called conduit. That has to go up to the roof where the panels are. Or if you're having a ground mount, then it would have to connect to it underground or overground. So on the right side over here is commercial. That's usually what we see with more large community solar arrays, ground mounted, and the inverters would be inside those boxes. So you can see that they are sitting on a platform. A lot of times that's built out of cement to hold the weight of the equipment. So again, nothing that you have to decide or worry about. The installers take care of it. So where do you start with your whole project? You can start in different ways. You can research installers that are available. We have some on our page, which is right here for you. If you wanted to ask any questions, you could email me, Cindy McCabe. Another resource is SIA. They have changed their name to CHESA, but basically they're the Maryland, Delaware, Virginia Area Solar Coalition, and they have a list of installers there as well. The next step is to reach out to installers and schedule site surveys. So the installers will want to come out and take a look at your property. They'll probably talk to you on the phone, look at your property on Google Maps, on Google Earth, on different aerial tools that they have. They'll talk to you about it. They'll schedule a time to come out and take a look. And I'm happy to come along for those site surveys as well, just to walk you through if you have any questions. Usually we recommend that you talk to a couple different installers, 2, 3, some people even get 4 quotes, just to make sure that they have a competitive bid. You would then get proposals from the installers. So they would send you designs that have the size of the system, the annual production that's expected, as well as warranty information and information for the equipment as well. So you would go ahead and choose an installer. You can talk to different folks about it. We're a resource here for you. And then you would finally sign a contract with them, and then they would go ahead and install the system for you. So this is how the project goes. Once you sign the contract with the installer, they go ahead and submit for both permitting and interconnection. So permitting, of course, would be for the county, and interconnection would be for the utility company. They have to get permission to connect the solar system, the generation system, to the grid. And there may be some upgrades needed depending upon the size of the system. So if it's a very large amount of electricity that's going to be generated, they have to make sure that their lines locally can take that amount of electricity. The permit then gets approved. It does take a little bit of time depending upon the process and how much is involved. The utility company will give conditional approval to go ahead and install. That's the first step for interconnection. Once we have permits and interconnection, you would go ahead and schedule the installation, complete the installation, depending upon the size of the system. I mean, for that townhouse that we were looking at, it might take 1 to 2 days. For a large community solar system, you're looking at weeks to months. The installer will let you know how long that will take, of course. After the installation is completed, the first step is a county inspection. Sometimes the inspection doesn't pass on the first time, so there might be a second. That's why I have in parentheses first through final. So you would keep having an inspection until you pass it. Probably not more than once, maybe twice if it's a large commercial system. A lot of times with residential inspections, you get it finalized on the first try. Once the county inspection is finalized, then or the utility, I need to correct that there. So PEPCO, Potomac Edison, or BGE would give final permission to operate if you're a residential system, or if it's commercial, they call it authorization to operate. It's basically when you go outside, you flip the switch and you smile for the pictures and you turn the system on. So that's step 8, turn it on, start saving money and helping the planet. All right, so I'm going to turn it back over to the boss of financing, Tom Deo. Tom, you're muted.
Good. Thank you, Cindy. Good work. So I'm going to walk through options that are available for homeowners or businesses to finance rooftop solar. So there's two tracks. One, we talked about this earlier. One is the ownership track, and the other is what we might call the contract track or the renting track. So on the ownership, you're basically doing an upfront purchase of the system. In that, the homeowner or the business that's undertaking is going to cover all costs associated with the system. You'll get that scope, you'll get that the contract amount, and the homeowner businesses are covering all costs. So you pay that upfront. You either pay for it with cash or you pay for it with financing. If you pay it with financing, you end up paying a predictable monthly payment for the term of the financing. We'll go through an example of this in a moment here so you can sort of see what that looks like. But because you are now the owner, you have all responsibility for owning it, maintaining it, and ensuring the solar PV system. You can enter into maintenance contracts with the solar installer if you need, but generally there's not a whole lot of maintenance. But if something does go wrong, you'll want to have someone available to do some maintenance on it. As the owner, you get all the responsibilities of ownership, and you have that responsibility for paying the upfront cost. But you also get to take advantage of the financing benefits that come with this. There's the investment tax credit, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, which you as an owner can take that off of your tax return and have that benefit. And you can own the solar renewable energy credits, or SRECs, and that's generated credits that come from the solar generated power, and I'll go into those in a minute too. And you can sell those on the market, and you can get some cash for those. If you are going to do the financing, we'll talk about it. We have homeowner financing and also commercial financing that can be used, affordable, flexible rates in order to sort of support that. So if you don't want to put that out, you don't want to be the owner, you don't want to cover all the costs, the other opportunity is to contract for it and basically rent it, and a third party would actually own it. So you would have no upfront costs as up to the homeowner or the business for putting the solar on your home or your business. But basically what you do is you enter into a power purchase agreement or a lease for 20 years with that developer entity that's going to put the solar on your roof, and they'll finance it, they'll install it, they'll own it, they'll manage it. And so you have a no care responsibility and no upfront costs. You don't get the benefits of the investment tax credits or the SRECs. Those will go to the solar installer that's going to own the system. That's part of how they then bring a beneficial price to you in the lease. And what you do in that contract is you're entering into an agreement for 20 years to pay a certain monthly payment at a price per kilowatt hour that's based on the production of the system. If you're doing it through a PPA, or you do it through a predetermined amount that's on a regular monthly payment that doesn't waver from month to month. A PPA you would pay based on the solar generation. So in low months of solar generation, your payment is lower. In higher months of solar generation, your payments are higher. But over the course of the year, they come out about the same as what a lease payment would have been if you paid it month to month. On the commercial property, we have a favorable power purchase agreement. We don't have a product right now for homeowners, but if you had that power purchase agreement on the commercial side for a business, it would work with any installer you may choose. Next. So just to talk a little bit about those incentives I mentioned, if you are going to be the owner of the system, there's two benefits you get. You get the federal income tax credit. And basically when you file your taxes, you take the tax credit that you're available and you put it against your tax liability. So it reduces your tax liability by the amount of that credit. In 2021, it's 26% of a system. So if the system costs you $20,000, that's about a little over $5,000 of tax credit benefit that you could get. So that's a dollar for dollar benefit. If you had $20,000 of tax liability, you can reduce that by $5,000, you'd have $15,000 of tax liability. Again, you need to consult an accountant for that tax liability. And you don't have, if you don't have that $5,000 in 1 year, you can take it over multiple years. You don't have to, it's not a one and done. You can take it as you have tax liability. The other thing that you have is what's the solar renewable energy credits. So for every 1,000 kilowatt hours it's generated, you get one solar renewable energy credit. You as the system owner, that's your credit. You can hold on to that because if you hold on to it, that's your environmental contribution because you're owning that credit. If you decide that you would rather sell that credit and let someone else have the environmental benefit, you can sell that credit today. It's about $77 per credit that you can sell that for. So on an annual basis, you can sell those credits. There's a marketplace out there that you can go and sell them on. But that market fluctuates. Today it's $77. Just a couple of years ago, it was $5. It depends on how much the renewable performance standard target is that the utilities need to meet. But right now it's $77. That's probably a fair number for the next couple of years. And then most people are predicting it's gonna drop off. But if you do sell that credit, you're gonna be proud of the fact that you had generated electricity and your meter is less, but you can't say that you are the beneficiary of the environmental benefit because you basically sold that environmental benefit to somebody else. The next slide. So how does a power purchase agreement structure work? So there's the developer that is the owner of the system. They develop the system and they are the owner operator. They brought all the money to the system. They're going to own it for the long term. They hire an installer to go out and construct the system. And they reach an agreement with you, the homeowner, that you're basically leasing your roof to them to install that solar on the roof. So you lease them the roof, they hire the installer constructs the system on your roof, and you enter into that contract with the developer installer to pay that contract price to them, and they are maintaining the system. So after it's installed, the installer is out of the equation. It's just a relationship between you, either a business or a homeowner, and that PPA provider. Next slide. So which is the best system? So it's all about how you feel and where you want to be in this and what benefits you're looking for and so there's, if you're thinking about the upfront ownership model, one thing to think about if you're a commercial entity, if you're a nonprofit entity like the Montgomery County Green Bank, because you need tax liability to be able to use the investment tax credit. If you're a nonprofit, you're a faith-based institution or some nonprofit organization owns your property, you can't actually take advantage of that investment tax credit. So that may be a reason not to think about ownership. Your return on your investment is going to be determined over the number of years. If you're owning it, you're paying debt service, if you're financing it, or if you paid cash out, it'll take a number of years before you sort of recoup that investment or pay off that financing. And so it may be 10 years out before you begin to see the positive benefits of the ownership model. But that's, but all along you're seeing benefits, but you do have to either recover your cash or pay off the financing. But that by virtue of ownership, you're typically going to get your highest net present value because you're not paying, long-term capital costs. You're paying a shorter-term capital cost. And if you're looking for a loan, the Montgomery County Green Bank's got a loan available starting at about 4.5% to 5% interest if you have best credit. But we have it available down to a 640 credit score. So we do that through a partner that we have. That would be on the homeowner side. We also have, if you're on the business side, we have our commercial loan for energy efficiency and renewables, similar term as that. Both of the commercial loan goes out 12 years. The residential loan could be 12, 15, or out to 20 years total. So you can, if you're a homeowner and you want to, carry a smaller cost of payment over a longer period, you can take it out that 20 years. On the third party ownership, again, this is where the nonprofits may find more benefit because they get the benefits of someone else taking advantage of those investment tax credits, and therefore they can bring a lower price on the price per kilowatt hour to the nonprofit. If you've got a very small system, this might be an opportunity to sort of get support for that. You have the expertise of a strong developer PPA provider. You want to make sure you have that because your contract is over a 20-year period. And again, it allows it for no upfront costs. So if upfront costs and payments are a hurdle, that would allow you to get to it without having to come out of pocket. And if you're a commercial entity, you can get to immediate savings in your operating costs because you're going to contract for a kilowatt hour price, say at 10 cents, and you're paying 12. Your net operating income is going to benefit by that lower operating costs. Next slide. So I'll run through an example real quickly. Here's a property example. It's a residential side. We're going to walk it as a residential. It would apply to a commercial as well. This would be a 9 kilowatt system. Its annual generation potential is 12,000 kilowatt hours. It's estimated $30,000 project cost. That's probably a little high, but it's a small system, so it's probably not out of the market. That's about $3 a kilowatt or $3 a watt. So the one thing you do get is net metering benefit, which means as it generates electricity, if it generates more electricity than you consume, that goes to PEPCO, and then as you consume that, it comes back to you and as a credit. So in this, you could get a net metering benefit of about $1,400 in year one. You get the investment tax credit of about $7,600 on the system for the 26%. And the state does offer a clean energy rebate of $1,000. So that's another thing that you can apply for, and you can get that taken off the purchase price. And then the solar renewable energy credits in here about $600, $850 in year one for the generation. So if you go to the next slide. So this is what a solar financing could be. So the solar financing that the Green Bank offers comes in two portions. One is a short term or up to 18 months, which basically is bridging the investment tax credits. The other is a long term. We're showing a 12-year here. You could certainly take a 15 or a 20-year. We use the shorter term on this. So again, you got project costs just under $30,000. You could take out a short-term loan for $7,600, which is what the investment tax credits would be. You don't pay any current interest on it. You don't pay any current payments. The interest accrues. So when you get that investment tax credit back, you pay off the loan. It's about, in this with the accrued interest, it would just be about $7,900. And so your one-time out of pocket there is about $300. That's the interest carry for that. Then you would have the long-term loan going forward. You take the state rebate off of that. You take out the tax credits. You got about $20,000 loan amount. Your annual loan payments are about $2,300 a month, a year. I'm sorry, just under $2,400 for a year. Your annual savings on this is about $1,400. That's what you would see as your credit on your Pepco bill for that amount of generated power, which means, and then you sell your SRECs for about $600 in the first year. That means in the first year, or on an annual basis, you're about $400 annually out of pocket. But if you look at it over a 25-year horizon, you've got the cost of that first loan payoff amount, you got your annual debt service, but your overall savings are $35,000 over that. You're selling your SRECs for $6,000. So at the end of 25 years, you're $13,000 on the positive. So it takes a little while to get there, but that's the power of ownership of the product. Next slide. So what does a power purchase agreement look like? So in this case, it's a 20-year power purchase agreement. We're assuming 20 years. So no out of pockets, right? This is all being paid for by the solar developer. So you have no out of pockets. Again, it's a 9 kilowatt hour system. It generates $12,000 kilowatt hours in a year. Assuming the PPA price is 12 cents a kilowatt hour, that means your payments are $1,400 a year. Your annual savings, which we're factoring in at about a 15 cents per kilowatt hour charge that you're paying on Pepco now, that's $1,800, which means you're basically out of pocket nothing, and you're saving $360 a year. So you have no out of pocket, and your benefit is about $360 a year from the difference between the PPA payments and what your annual kilowatt hour savings are. Over a 25-year horizon, that's $36,000 of PPA payments, $45,000 of annual kWh savings, which means out of pocket, you're actually saving $9,000 over that period. So you're saving $9,000 here, you save $13,000 under the ownership model. The difference is you start from day one with nothing out of pocket. Next slide. Okay, now I'm going to hand it back over to Cindy, and she's going to walk you through community solar, some basics around that.
Thanks, Tom. So we talked about ownership and PPA as a sort of like directly owning the system or directly leasing the system. Let's talk a little bit about community solar. So this visual explains all the players in the community solar, except for if there's a farm owner, and that's on the following slide. So if we start here with the customers, the three people there, so that would be folks that subscribe to the community solar array. They basically sign up and buy the energy that's produced by a certain number of solar panels. The developer in this situation owns, finances, manages, and operates the solar array. So the customers are not involved in any of that. The solar panel, of course, creates the electricity. It goes directly to the utility. It would not go to the property that it's installed on. And then the utility would then sell it to the subscribers through a credit on their bill. So I have a short description, and then I have a couple of pictures of how the billing works as well. So for community solar subscription, as I mentioned, the solar array is built. It would have to be in the same utility as the subscribers. So if you're Pepco, BGE, or Potomac Edison, you could only subscribe in your same utility, and it's built by a third party. The owner of the array would sell the subscriptions to customers, and they could do that directly or through a subscription management company, which is a little bit more popular. They would sell those credits at a market price that's below the current price of electricity, but for the same amount of usage. So that's where the savings comes in. Neighborhood Sun is an example of a subscriber seller for community solar. For the customers, for example, a resident or a condo owner or someone who for some reason chooses to have community solar over solar on their property would go ahead and sign the contract for a certain amount of time. A lot of times you can get out of the contract. So it's not as long of a contract as we were talking about with a PPA. The customer pays the subscription and they get credits on their bill. So it actually saves them some money from the regular price of electricity, which is great. So here's an example of a Pepco bill for someone that lives on Main Street. So you can see here that they have a credit right on their bill, the New Neighborhood Sun credit. It comes right off of the total amount of the bill. And then we have an example of the payment. So these are not for the same customer example. These are a little bit different. So over here, you can see on the right side that the amount produced is $100. The amount paid is $90. So there's $10 savings. So that's not the same as the previous example, which was at $133. It's hard to get an example from the same customer, especially because community solar is pretty new for this area. But I think you get the idea. You pay a little bit less for it than the amount that you get back. So you get some savings there. So as far as community solar development goes, this shows the involvement of a developer as well. So the developer would go ahead and get the energy from the project from the utility. They would get payment for unsubscribed energy. They would then sell the energy to the customer, get the payment for the subscription from the customer, and the utility would give the electricity to the customer, of course, as always, no change there, right? This shows a solar land lease. So let's start here on the left side. So a land lease is signed between the property owner and the financer of the project. The solar panels are installed on the property, and the power is generated by what they call an off-taker here. That's the subscriber. So whoever takes the subscription off. We do have some resources which we shared with the Alliance, and we can send these out. I'm sure that the wonderful women on the call, Caroline and Christina, can send these out to you as well if they don't already have them on their page. But there are some guides from SIA and NYSERDA that have more information on land leases. So thank you so much for your time. I want to pass this over to a wonderful person, colleague, Larissa Johnson from the county, to talk a little bit about the resources that the county has for us. Thanks, Larissa.
Awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And while I'm talking, hopefully you can look through the chat, because there have been a lot of questions specifically for you, Cindy, and for Tom. So I don't know if y'all have taken a look at those, but I want to make sure that we answer those questions. And we have a little bit of time left. I think we're scheduled till 8:30. Is that correct? So I will be quick. As they both told you, I am Larissa Johnson. I'm the Residential Energy Program Manager for Montgomery County Department of Environmental Protection. What does that mean? That means that I talk to residents just like you all the time about ways to use less energy in your home, switch to renewable energy sources like they were just talking about, and then just making sure that you actually have access to all of this material every single day of the year, because it's going to be overwhelming. You're going to be like, wait, what did they just say? We forgot everything that Tom said. I have no idea what Cindy said. The beautiful thing is we have websites. So Cindy, if you can stop your share, I would love to share the website so everyone has it too. And the reason why I want to share this website with y'all is because there is a lot of information here, and I just want to walk you through it very, very quickly. I am always here for additional questions. If you ever have questions, it's just energy@montgomerycountymd.gov. But this is the website. It answers all energy questions that you may have. If you need help paying your utility bills, this is where you're going to go. Help pay my utility bills. And then we're going to talk to you about paying your utility bill, water bill, monthly payments, all of that. The area that they were really talking about, which you can find more, of course, on the Montgomery Green Bank website for specifics. But if you're ever wondering, like Tom said, the cheapest kilowatt hour is the kilowatt hour we do not use. So when we don't use energy, we're not spending any money. But if you want to make sure your home is as energy efficient as possible, there are programs that exist to help do that. There's a quick home energy checkup. So you would go to here to schedule a home energy assessment. There's a quick home energy checkup. And then there's also the home performance with Energy Star audit. All of that is here if you want additional information. And then the other thing is find ways to pay for upgrades. I would definitely take a look here everything that Tom and Cindy just discussed is listed, not everything, sorry. Most of it is going to be listed here. Everything is listed here on their website. So you would just click there and go to their website. There's also additional programs. And the big thing I want to make sure you all know about, if you are doing any efficiency upgrades or you're switching to renewable energy, Montgomery County does have an energy efficiency tax credit. You're going to go to lower my bill, and then you're going to go to find ways to pay for your upgrades. The reason why I'm telling you that this is the way you want to go is because if you try to Google and try to find this document, it is very difficult to find. But I will tell you, it is the easiest county or government form you will ever fill out. If you do any of these things here, if you do any weather stripping, or you get a programmable thermostat, or you go, or you nope, don't go solar, this doesn't count really, but if you do any of the energy efficiency measures to get you to make sure your home is energy efficient, then you go here. Super easy. You fill this out, you send this to this address right here, and then you will have a $250 property tax credit on your property tax credit. Property tax. So that's how that works. So go here. There's also this amazing thing. I don't know if everyone knows about it. It was new to me recently, but every utility has a marketplace. So you can go here. And if you were interested in switching to a programmable thermostat, for example, you would go here to your utility supplier. I will tell you that they have really sneaky deals every once in a while. So Pepco for this month from April, I forgot it's May already, from the 1st of April until Earth Day, they were selling programmable thermostats for $1, like really nice ones. So you want to go here to find out that information and then learn about renewables. So everything that they just talked about, community solar projects and solar co-ops and installing solar panels, you can go right here to learn about renewables, to look for more information. I will also tell you that as of right now, if you don't want to have to get quotes from 3 different solar companies, you can always join the solar co-op. And so the solar co-op in Montgomery County, well, you can get information here about it, or you can find out that we have one right now, and it is here. Montgomery County Active Solar Co-op. So it's a capital area solar co-op. You can find more information about that if you're interested. There are also tons and tons of info sessions specifically about the solar co-op. But if you want to do financing for your solar panels, you would want to go through Montgomery County Green Bank. That's who I went through, and I participated in the co-op last year. And then other information is my energy use. So this is just general information about energy questions that people often have when they contact me, like, hey, I don't understand my utility bill. So these have sample utility bills, so you can check that out. And Cindy already showed you that you can actually go here and you can see what your energy usage was like over time. So you can check all this out. And if you want to step by step, you go there. And then there's other things too, like energy scams. Just make sure you're aware of these. There are new scams every day. If it sounds too good to be true, sometimes it is. Like that home performance audit is a real program, but no one's going to come to your door to sign you up for it. They're going to put an insert in your bill and you're going to throw it away. And then you're going to ask me, Larissa, why don't I know about this program? And I'm going to say it was an insert in your bill and you threw it away. But now you know it's a real program. So that's what you will need to know. So everything is here. If you have any questions, you're going to just email me at energy@montgomerycountymd.gov. I want to give the rest of the time to these questions. We have 8 minutes left, but I am here as a resource for you, anything and everything energy related. I hope you go to that website because I literally brushed through it so fast, but there's 30 plus websites worth of information all on that one place. So questions?
Larissa, thank you for that rapid fire. It was so great. And listen, while we have 8:30 as the closing time, we will certainly give the additional minutes, if you will, to make sure that we leave some of these questions, get these questions answered. So thank you for that. Cindy, Tom, do you see the chat? There's some questions I believe you can answer. There are some that I think I'll let folks know that there are certain like zoning and procedural questions that will be a part 2. I do want to repeat for those who weren't on when I said it before, the provisions of the recently passed zoning text amendment, specifically applying to the ag reserve, we are still trying to gather the information on process for some of those provisions. So we will provide those at a second meeting. So bear with on that. But Tom and Cindy, if you want to address, and Larissa, if you have any of the questions you want to address, go at it.
Sure, thanks, Caroline. So the first question I'm seeing, I'll go through and then we'll check and see if I've skipped any. Does Green Bank provide similar support for other renewable energy options like wind generators? So for a commercial wind generator, Tom, would we finance?
Yeah, renewable energy, we finance it all. We haven't done them. We've done geothermal and we've done solar. So we'd have to get a handle around the economics around that. But we certainly, if you have a project you're looking at, please call us. Let's talk it through. We're supporting all clean energy. So we'd love to sort of understand that sector.
Okay, great. So Patty, you are looking to get some ground mounted posts, and it would be that would be great. That sounds awesome. You're also a community solar subscriber. Sounds like you're doing great. Reach out to us if you have any questions about that. And then next one. On days when you generate more electricity from your rooftop than you use, does your electric meter run backwards? Yes. So net metering would happen if your system is directly tied in. So if you are directly connected to the grid, as in a community solar project, your meter would not run backwards because your power is not coming into your home. But for residential, definitely it does happen. It's not just a myth. I've seen it. And all right, let's see.
And Cindy, on that, I think the second part of that question was, does it pay for the excess power? So I think that got to your sizing. You don't want to have an excess power that you carry forward over a whole year, because what they'll pay you for that extra is at a wholesale price, which is much less than your other price, which is why the installer is going to size the system to make sure you're under what your normal annual usage is, because there's not a benefit to overgenerate.
Thanks,
is that right,
Tom.
Cindy?
Yep, that's definitely right. So if you need it stated in other words, so basically, yeah, the savings that the installer will guarantee you, and maybe even in your contract, there might be a savings or production guarantee. That is for the savings is based on electricity avoided, not on the amount of money you get back for extra electricity. So the way that the utility pays you back, you actually don't make money off of it on the long term. So Tom, the way you said it was totally correct. Thank you. So I'm not an accountant. I always have to say that for the next question, but I have not seen anything saying that you cannot get both solar and geothermal tax credit. Tom?
Yeah, I think it's by project. I mean, there's investment tax credit, or buying investment tax credits across the country, taking multiple. So, but Cindy's right. You should talk to your tax accountant to make sure you understand what that looks like against your tax liability. But just because you did geothermal, that's one type of system. Solar is a different type of system. So.
Wonderful. There is a community solar project starting in downtown Silver Spring. One way to find community solar projects is Solar United Neighbors. They also have information for the Capital Co-op that Larissa, thank you for pointing that out. I can't believe I didn't mention it, sorry. We're so excited about it. So Solar United Neighbors would be one website to go to find out more about the different community solar projects in the area. Larissa, is there another website for finding community solar projects that the county has, or should they go to Solar United Neighbors?
Yeah, we partner with Solar United Neighbors on that as well.
Okay, wonderful. So this next question, what are the standards for siting a community solar array on a farm in the ag reserve? That is a loaded question.
That's
So,
what the
yeah.
part two we'll get into.
Yeah.
So that's what part two of this will be, not on this session. Yeah.
It's a great question. And I'm definitely writing all the questions down, and we'll be sure to have some more information on that and some experts in that area, which I'm not, sorry. So let's see. Christina and Carolyn also put some resources in there, which is great. So is there a way that my solar panels can charge a home-sized battery when we have a power outage? Last Friday, we can run certain items. So yep, that's one thing we didn't get into in this this presentation. So battery storage. So that would be something that you would talk to the installers about. Very important thing to know, and thanks for bringing it up, is that when the power goes out, even if you have a solar system, if you don't have a backup storage, your solar system will turn off automatically. One reason for that is because when the utility comes out to repair the grid, to get the grid back up, there can't be any electricity running through the grid like there could be from a solar system. For safety reasons, we don't want anyone getting electrocuted. So battery backup, it establishes a place for the electricity to go so that it doesn't go back to the grid. It goes to the battery and to your home so that you can have electricity when the power is out. So yes, you would talk to your installer about that. Great question. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, and I would just, to the county co-op. The county co-op is both the solar and it's also supporting EV charging. So that's another thing to think about, how the solar, if you have an EV and you're looking to charge it, you can size your solar panel to actually support then the EV charging. And the county co-op, which we are part on this year, and we look to support it next year, is focused on advancing both those ideas.
Thanks, Tom. Yes. And so the next question from Knight, I wrote down. I don't have the answer to your question. I'm sure that there is a calculation that we can get for you. So I will come back to you with that information. If you want to get me your email address and you can message it to me directly, I can find that out for you. And then, so M. Weaver, what about ground install solar panels? I'm not sure what your question is. If you want to go into some more detail in the chat, or you can email me separately. I can put my email in as well. Let me know, did I miss any? I'm scrolling. Let's see. Has Green Bank financed any Tesla solar roofs, the solar shingles? No, we haven't. Tesla is a huge company and they have their own financing. So we are looking to reach out to them to let them know what we have as well. But no, we haven't financed any solar roofs. But like I said, we would love to talk to them. If you have anybody there that wants to reach out to us, we'd love to chat. It is handled differently than a normal rooftop solar panel installation. So they take your roof off. They take it all the way off. They take off the paper underneath the shingles. They take off the decking as well. So you're actually paying for the cost of a solar system and a new roof. So it's a little more expensive. They also have to put every solar shingle and regular shingle in at exactly the right spacing. So it takes longer. It's very precise. So yes, in shorter terms, it's different. Beautiful, lovely, amazing technology, of course, but definitely different. And then I see homes with solar panels on the ground instead of on the roof. Yes, ground mounts are available and great as well, and we can finance them. Also.
Yeah, I would just say that a ground mount will be probably more expensive because you have to construct the infrastructure to put the solar panel on versus putting it on the roof. The infrastructure, what the panel sits on, is already there, right? So where we've seen ground mount, and we've looked at it for a lot of commercial, like over parking lots and so forth, it's a more expensive installation than putting it on an existing roof because you've already got the infrastructure to lay the panel. So just as a note about ground mount, one of the differences there.
Great point, Tom. Thank you. And then how well do panels hold up to large hail events? So the panels that are in use now are the ones that I know about, and those are tested against golf ball size hail, and they stand the test. So the panels should have mechanical warranty, but as far as damage due to nature, that is a different question. So if you own your solar panels and they get damaged due to nature, so we're talking about a big tree branch that falls, hopefully not on your house, but something that would break your roof without solar panels on it would break the solar panels. So a large branch could. And in that case, if you own your system, the damage would be covered by your homeowner's insurance. So we always recommend that you call and check with them to see if it's already covered or if you need a small adder. Whereas if you're renting the solar system, if you decide to do a lease or a PPA, damage due to nature should be covered in your contract under an insurance policy that the installer or developer takes out. Great question. Is it true that fire codes prevent solar panels covering an entire roof? Yes, that's correct. There are fire setbacks. You have to leave some room around the arrays. It could be accessed from another side, but there needs to be access points. We recommend a vendor that specializes in ground mounting solar installs. Not here on the presentation, but if you are able to email me or send me your email address, we can talk more about recommending vendors.
And Cindy, did you address the question that someone asked about why the roof life expectancy of the roof is important?
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay. So yes, great point. So if you are going to need to change your roof during your contract, you have to factor that into the cost of your project. So if you are going to have to change your roof in the next 10 years or so, I would think about that and how much that's going to cost, not only the cost of the roof, but the cost of taking the panels off and putting them back on. That really brings up the price of your project. You have to factor that into your finances. If you are thinking of changing your roof in the next 10 years, you might want to talk to your installer about changing the roof now versus waiting, and which one makes more sense financially. Tom, I'm sure you have something to add on there. No?
I think that's right. I mean, the issue is you're putting up something on the roof that's going to be in there 20, 25 years. And if your roof is 15 years old, you're going to need to replace it during that time. So now you have to take those panels off. There's a cost associated with that. Replace the roof, put them up. And so you're adding more cost to your solar versus, okay, it's 15 years old. I should go ahead and change the roof now. But 20, and you'll get a longer life expectancy from the roof when solar's on there because it's not getting the sun beating on it as much either. But you don't want an aged roof and solar on top because at some point you have to take it off, and that's just more expense than you should bear.
There's so much about solar that it would be, we could probably talk for another few hours about it and still not be finished. So this is just a quick intro, and we're happy to come back and go into more detail at another time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy, Tom, Larissa, and for our participants. As you've seen, the slides will be made available, the recording will be made available, and you have information for people's direct emails if you want to contact them directly. So this is 101, Solar Renewables 101. We'll be back at you. Watch your emails to see when we'll come for part 2. In the meantime, I hope you take more time. I know I'm going to have to go back and look at and read and digest. This was very thick, good information, and much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having us. We appreciate that. Please reach out to us. We're here for take your questions at any time. Just you got the emails there. They're in the PowerPoint or the phone. But we're here to help Larissa, Cindy, or myself. So thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Christina, for this chance.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Larissa.
Have a great evening.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.